Hello and welcome back to my Satisfactory Let's Play series. In this episode we will finally get around to making our blueprints for what will eventually become my fully expandable main bus factory. No more getting sidetracked this time. I'm fully committed. I've already built and saved all the modules, so I'm going to start by walking you through each one and explaining how I plan to use them. So let's get started. You can't have a main bus factory without the bus itself, right? I've been thinking quite a lot about how I'm going to design the bus. How many builds are we gonna run? How should we stack them? And how do we pull items off cleanly without a tangled mess? After some careful consideration, I've decided to cram as many parallel belts as possible into the Blueprint Designer, suspended on stackable belt supports, starting 2 levels high. I'll stack multiple levels on top of this one because I'd rather expand them vertically than horizontally, and I'll only place longitudinal belts on every other level. The levels in between will be reserved for transversal belts split off the main bus. That's how I'm gonna make it space efficient and clean. How exactly am I gonna pull items off the bus? Good question. To keep things clean and avoid clipping into adjacent belts, I'll drop the line down 1 level and place a splitter on it. That lets me drag it neatly to the side. I'll achieve this with a small modular splitter blueprint that I can just snap onto the bus whenever I need to tap into it. That's what I thought anyway. In reality it turns out to be a little harder, but we'll see what I mean in a few minutes. Besides the 11x1 bus blueprint, 11 is how many belts I've managed to cram into the Mark 1 Designer, I've also made a 1x1 and 11x2 version. That should cover most of my needs for now. One last thing, I've also designed a belt balancer. Well, it's not actually balancing anything, it just splits the top belt and feeds half of it into the lower one. I might not end up using it, but I want to ensure that my lower belts always stay stocked, since I'll mainly be pulling from those. Again, that's the plan. Now for the machines. First up, smelters. I've placed 2 smelters side by side with a merger between them, receiving inputs from the other side. It's fully stackable and fits neatly into the Mark 1 Designer. Next are the foundries. This setup is similar. 2 foundries facing each other with a merger in front. On top of the merger, I placed 3 splitters. The middle one acts as a spacer and wasn't actually connected, so I removed it. For inputs, I used 2 lifts connected to the outer side and leading into the central splitter. Again, simple, clean, and most importantly, scalable. Then come the constructors. Yes, I know, I'm a bit obsessed with placing 2 machines side by side. That's probably the Factorio player in me. There, if you'd only load one side of the belt, you'd be wasting half of the throughput. For all these setups, I've made both 2 machine and 4 machine versions. The key point is this: all inputs and outputs are on the same side. That's crucial for connecting cleanly to my bus. Everything loads and unloads in one direction. Finally, the assembler setup. This one's trickier because I can't fit 2 assemblers side by side in the Mark 1 Designer. Still, it actually makes more sense for assemblers to be arranged in that way, since they typically handle slower recipes that consume a lot of input. So my solution was to split it into 2 blueprints. One blueprint containing a fully functional and scalable single row of assemblers, and the other containing the other side. And I can choose whether I want to add it to my build later. Okay, enough talk about blueprints, let's get to business. It's time to start converting my existing, somewhat organized factory into a modular main bus system using my shiny new blueprints. This is going to get a lot messier before it looks clean, so bear with me. The first step is to tear everything down and replace it with the new modular blueprints. It's important I get the tearing down right, as it'll be a lot harder to spot issues later once I build over it. Next, I drop the first segment, and using the auto connect feature, I quickly build up a significant length of bus. I really hope I thought this through, because if I have to move this belt even 1 meter to the side later, it could just make me uninstall the game. The first phase of the plan is to replace the bus and connect it to my existing machines just to get everything working again. The first resource I'm adding to the bus is copper ingots, since they're the first one being used. I'm already feeding ingots directly into the constructors for plates and rods, so I won't add those yet. I've mentioned this before, wire is such a high volume item that it makes more sense to add ingots to the bus and produce wire locally when needed. So I connect the ingot line to the wire constructor using my modular splitter blueprint. I'm already running 2 belts of copper ingots. I can't remember why, but I'll just extend both. I'm sure I have a good reason. Okay, turns out I need the extra line for cable production. So after connecting the copper belts to the bus, I place a splitter to redirect one line to my cable factory and reserve a dedicated bus belt for cables as well. That wraps up copper. Next are the iron rods, mainly because I need them for rotors, and rotors are important. Also, because I forgot about iron plates, which I probably should have added first, but who's keeping track? A quick transversal belt and now we have rods on the bus. To feed them into the rotor factory, I use the same modular splitter blueprint. One clean connection, simple, neat, efficient. Next are the plates. Now is when I realize I completely forgot about iron plates, which I desperately need for reinforced plates. So I add those to the bus as well, following the same process, split from the main line and feed into the assemblers. Oh, and there's a lizard doggo wandering through my factory, petting time. Too bad it runs away, I really need to find some berries. Funny enough, it leads me straight to my modular frame factory, where I realize I need to feed iron rods into it. That's how I plan my factory upgrades, apparently, wherever the doggo leads me. Next up, steel beams. This one's easy. I'm already bringing steel to the correct spot, I connect it, split it into the framework factory, and that's done. And with that, the first stage of my master plan is complete. At this point, I'm back where I started the episode. But now everything's cleaner, modular, and more organized. But I'm not stopping there. The whole point of the bus is to make scaling easy. Looking at the builds, it's obvious I'm not producing enough reinforced plates. So I tear down the old setup, yeah, even the power poles, oops, and replace the 4 assemblers with 6 using my new blueprint. This layout looks so much cleaner and more compact. After adjusting the inputs, I do some quick math and realized I need 4 extra wire constructors. Perfect, I've got a blueprint for that too. Drop it in, connect the belts, and production doubles instantly. That's the magic of blueprints. Of course, now I'm producing 240 wire per minute on a Mark II belt, double its capacity. Could I split it into 2 belts? Sure. But I'm lazy, so I just upgraded to Mark III, even though I'm super tight on steel. That's why I researched it, right? Next I make like Tim Cook and upgrade my copper sheet factory by removing it completely and moving all the ingot production off the sand and onto this 2-level building with foundations and everything. I'll just worry about it later. After this I finally add concrete to the bus, as I will be using it shortly to make encased beams. Everything from here on out should be smooth sailing. Time for automated wiring. I extend the foundations a bit since I'm running out of space, but when I place the assemblers for automated wiring, I quickly realize my mistake. This recipe needs stators, and stators need steel pipes. Time for another boring, cross-desert, no foundation, messy, ugly-looking belt work. 1 belt should be enough for now, and I added it quickly to the bus on top of the steel beams. Hope I don't regret it later. Now comes the part that I wasn't expecting. In my silly head, I was imagining the blueprints would snap right into place, no matter what level I was placing them on. Boy, was I wrong. I don't know, maybe you guys have a better method, but I just ended up placing them on the ground and nudged them to the correct height. It's not ideal, but it is what it is, it works for now. Anyway, I drop a quick and messy automated wire setup and move on. Now it's just a waiting game until phase 2 completes. After a few quick fixes around the base and another milestone research, I decide it's time to upgrade steel production. Right now, my steel beam output is lagging behind, and those things eat through an absurd amount of ingots, which is exactly what I'm short on. Iron isn't the issue here, there's plenty of that. What I'm really missing is coal, and that brings up 2 problems. 1. I'm not producing enough, so I'll need to upgrade my miners to Mark II and throw in some power shards. And 2. I'm not transporting it fast enough. I could either run a second belt or upgrade the existing one to Mark III. Naturally, I go for the latter. It's way faster to do, and honestly, I'm too lazy to run another belt. With enough coal finally flowing in, I can upgrade my steel production properly. I tear down the old setup, drop in my new sleek blueprinted design, and of course upgrade the belts. The rate at which I'm burning ingots is just ridiculous. Steel production upgraded, it's time to focus on more important things. I head back to camp and finally unlock hypertubes. But I don't have time to play around with those right now, because I've spotted a more serious problem. My automated wire production is too slow. Naturally, the culprit is plain old cables. So cue another factory overhaul, this time for the cable plant. I'm going vertical with this one, stacking constructors all the way up. If memory serves, I'm going to need a lot of cables later, so I might as well future-proof it now. Production speeds up nicely, but I still need something to do while the space elevator fills up. I knock out my last milestone, grab a shiny new pair of Blade Runners, finish a bunch of man research, stockpile on high-tech ammo, and yet I'm still waiting. Alright, time to take my own advice. Remember when I talked about the importance of batteries? Since I just unlocked advanced power infrastructure, it's time I put that wisdom to work. I built 4 batteries and dropped them in quite possibly the worst location imaginable, but hey, they'll stabilize my power grid and cover my sudden spikes, which is nice. Still not done waiting? Fine, let's make good use of the time. Remember the spider cave? Yeah. I'm pretty sure that by now I have some reanimated Sam down there waiting for me, and I could definitely use it for some dimensional storage. So I hop in my trusty tractor and race across the desert for a quick Sam run. I dive in the cave, fend off a few nasty spiders, grab the loot, and make it back just in time to launch a few thousand parts into space for who knows what purpose. And with that, phase 2 is complete, and so is this episode. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.